All right, so 2025, here we go. As many of you have maybe already heard, 2025 in numerology is actually a 9-year. So in numerology, the number 9 actually means endings. It's the end of a cycle, right? So that is going to be a major theme in this year overall. As far as the Chinese Lunar New Year, it is also the year of the snake. And so the snake symbolically represents shedding of the skin and releasing what is no longer serving us. Overall, we can really kind of already start to formulate an idea of just how 2025 is going to be just a major transformational year on a collective level and personal. So it's really just, again, just releasing what no longer serves us as a collective and personally. And it's truly summarizing the fact that we are leaving an old paradigm, structural systems, that societal systems that are not serving the greater good, the collective, that are literally crumbling before our eyes. And meanwhile, working towards creating a new paradigm. But in order to move into that new paradigm, these structures quite literally have to dissemble, release. So that's a major theme overall. And that's even aside from astrology. So with the added layer of astrology, there's a lot going on. So let's look into 2025. Welcome to the Art of Woo podcast with your host, Lee Erickson. Okay, so I'm going to do just like a high level perspective of the major astrological planetary shifts that are happening because there are so many happening this year. It's wild. So we can't not pay attention to them. So we already are well aware that Pluto has entered Aquarius for good. It entered 2024, will be there till I believe it's March 2044. So we are in this for quite a while. It is a generational planet. It literally defines an entire generation as it moves signs. So again, I know I've talked about this a million times if you've been following along, but Pluto leaving Capricorn and entering Aquarius is a dramatic shift in energy. And it has a lot to do with our collective and our society and how we function and the systems and the institutions that shape our society. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, and it is all about structure and systems and institutions and rules and obligations and status quo. All of that is shifting dramatically. We're shifting away from that rigid energy, and Pluto as a planet does nothing but transform. And it's not easy. It's usually even though it's a slow moving transit, it really does its job as far as digging up the dirt and it exposes what needs to be changed. And again, it's not always pretty. We've seen this in so many different ways already, just in 2024, kind of its last hurrah in that sign. So now, again, moving into Aquarius, I've talked about this so many times, but Aquarius is all about the collective. It's we, the people. It's the innovation. It goes against the status quo. It wants to reinvent the wheel, more or less. It celebrates individuality for all of the people, yet it also wants what's best for the people. So we're already experiencing that as we speak. And let's see, the next major shifts that we already just experienced and will be in for the next 18 months that happened on 1/11 were the lunar nodes shifting signs. I talked a lot about this in my last episode, but the North Node is shifting into Pisces and the South Node is shifting into Virgo. So again, that's actually my natal placement. I am a North Node Pisces. I believe that's why I am very interested in this kind of spiritual world, the ethereal realm, the things that you can't always see or define in like a concrete way. And we are shifting into that energy for the next 18 months. And we are releasing again this Virgo energy, which is the South Node, which is kind of in alignment a little bit more with that Capricornian energy. Virgo also really likes structure. It really likes a system. It likes to be very organized. It's meticulous with details. So we're kind of letting go a part of that as a collective. So it will be interesting to see how this kind of defines us in the next 18 months. So if you want to hear more about me ramble on and rant about my deeper theories about that energy, watch my last or listen to my last episode. So the next big one is Neptune entering Aries. And this is something to absolutely pay attention to because the last time Neptune was in Aries was in 1861. That is, again, an incredibly slow moving sign. And why does this specific year stand out to us so much is because that was actually when the Civil War broke out. In fact, Neptune entered the sign of Aries, and literally the day after it entered that sign, the war broke out. So I never want to create fear or paranoia by any means. If anything, this is just more insight as to what we can work with for the astrological energies. So Neptune and Aries, it is interesting because the Civil War was all about ending slavery. And it was about equality, which was one of the most profound moments in our history as this country. And in addition to that, remember, the United States is also in its own Pluto return. So, as much as the intensity builds, you got to remember that like a Pluto return is nothing but death and rebirth and transformation. Does it feel like we're going through that as a country? Yeah, a little bit. And we're not out of the woods yet. So Neptune and Aries, it's only going to be there for a brief moment in time because just like what Pluto did last year, it kind of tiptoed into Aquarius. Then it went retrograde and went out of the sign back into Capricorn and then slowly back into Aquarius for the next 20 something years for good. Neptune will be doing the same thing, more or less, going into Aries. It's entering Aries March 30th of this year, 2025, but it will also retrograde back out of it October 22nd. So it's just kind of a preview of where we might be seeing things pop up that we will be entering that kind of age of Neptune and Aries. So there's so many predictions, and I never want to predict things because that's not necessarily what astrology is for. I think it's more about using it as a tool to help us, just navigate the energies. And it's not about making these exact predictions, although sometimes it can completely shock us with how it works in that way. But Neptune and Aries is very interesting one. Again, with the Civil War, that's such an interesting energy. So Neptune is all about illusion, and it's like this, it's ruled by Pisces. It's a spiritual sign. And also Neptune has been in Pisces for quite some time. So yeah, Neptune's got the dreamy, ethereal energy, but also its shadow side can be illusion, or also even like addiction, if you like quite literally can relate it to that. We also saw, Neptune and Pisces for the last couple decades has been really interesting. Even though that's where it feels the most at home, it's almost like it's like a superpower boosted. It's like that extra potent Pisces energy. Another astrologer I was reading earlier made a point about how we had the like opioid addiction crisis. Like we so many people have died from this addiction overdose epidemic, and we can kind of look to Pisces when we see a massive addiction in our culture and society. So again, Neptune and Aries is really interesting because I can't think of, again, more two like opposite signs. So Aries is ruled by Mars. It's masculine. It loves action. It's like very impulsive. It wants to just go and get shit done. It's also the sign of war, but it is the masculine sign. Neptune is a water sign. Mars is fire. So again, it's like very kind of uncomfortable energy, but I think that we will really start to see, a lot of things that are already kind of controversial or kind of like working themselves out in humanity as we speak be brought to the surface. One perspective I was thinking earlier was how masculinity is going to really kind of be not redefined, but almost like I feel like we might see, and again, Trump is going to be taking off. Well, he is officially today. We might see a rise of like this misogyny taking this world stage again, and just men kind of feeling threatened in a sense. I almost feel like the masculine image feeling threatened and feeling like it needs to fight back. And then again, like the delusionment of Neptune can kind of be this almost like perfect storm. There's a lot of different ways this can play out. This is just like one example. But it's something to just be aware of. And I'm not, again, trying to fear monger at all, but fortunately we're in like this time period where yes, there's like information overload and potentially misinformation overload again. And like Neptune is really good at that. Neptune really likes to blur the lines and can just like feed the imagination to the point where it can almost be like detrimental. And so I feel like, yeah, a lot of people's ideals can kind of become inflamed, and that can feel like warlike energy. But at the same time, looking back at 1861, where humanity's consciousness was at that point in time was such a wildly, drastically different place. Although I give them massive credit for fighting for equality and ending slavery, that is a beautiful thing that we should all like be so grateful for, that this happened in our history. However, again, I feel like where we are at right now, our consciousness has evolved so dramatically since that time that I don't see that happening. I don't see necessarily like war-like energy happening. I mean, maybe that's just me and like being superstitious with my manifestation and whatnot, but like I want to focus on a peaceful future. And I'm not saying it's going to be just love and light, yada yada, because again, we are in this insane period of time where we're working out all of the shadows of humanity, and it is just on the world stage and we're in it together and there's no way but through. And I do feel like, with all of these transits that I'm about to talk about, the way that we're going to get through this is by not resisting and not fighting, but just riding the wave. It literally, like, surfing is such an amazing metaphor for life, but it's all about riding the waves. And the more we try to fight it and resist what's happening, the harder it's going to be. So yes, this is going to be a challenging time. But again, if we just ride the wave and we worry about keeping ourselves grounded, we'll make it through. And our consciousness is evolved. Take a deep breath, sound bath. We're going to get through. Okay. So that was Neptune and Aries. So in addition to that outer generational forming planet, we also have Saturn entering Aries as well, which is just bonkers. So we all know about Aries energy. We just talked about this. It's the masculine, it's the sign of war. It likes to take action, fire sign. Saturn is all about the structure and the institutions and the the systems, the powers that be, the authority, the authoritarian kind of mentality. So it's so interesting because, like, as I say this, yes, it all seems like this perfect storm for just like everything we don't want. But maybe that's the point. Maybe we are here to work again. Just everything is going to be so inflamed and so in our faces. And we already can sense that again with this new presidential candidate that has just taken office. We all can feel that no matter what side you're on, things are going to be intense. And again, Saturn is going to pull up that energy in Aries. Like those two are going to be intense. However, the crazy thing is we're going to also have Neptune and Saturn be conjunct in the sign of Aries. And so that's just really wild to me because, again, Neptune is like the spiritual side. It's illusion, it's dreamy, it's imagination. And then like quite opposite, you've got Saturn with its rules and structure. So it's like all of these things are just going to be kind of bringing up this insanity in front of us to the point where we're just going to have to take a step back, ride the wave again, and really breathe through it. We are in a 9-year. This is a snake year. This is all about releasing what no longer serves us. All I can think about is that all of the things that are not working for us as a collective are about to be put out on display for us. That way, we are well aware of what is not working. With Pluto and Aquarius as a community, we are going to, this is a strong word, but abolish the system that is not working for us. That's what it feels like. The 9, the snake, all of these planetary shifts, everything on display for us to really see. It's like the universe is putting all of our shadow side and all of our shit on a silver platter for us to say, is this the world that you want? Is it? I don't think it is. So what are we going to do about it? Because we need to change. And we will. We will change. Because Pluto's in Aquarius. Okay. Jupiter enters Cancer. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even give you the dates for Saturn in Aries. Saturn enters Aries May 24th. So that's a couple months after Neptune enters Aries. It's May 24th through September 1st. And oddly enough, 2025, similar exact in energy where it's going to dip its toes into Aries and then it's going to back out and maybe again back to this theory I just have where it's going to put itself, on this platter right in front of our eyes to see what's really going on, what our world is really demonstrating for us. And say, okay, so yeah, it's going there and then it's going to retrograde back out again. So again, this is like the testing waters. It's like the small preview, just like Neptune and Aries. Saturn and Aries is going to do the same thing. They're both going to be there for about 6 months or so to give us a small preview that will be so blatant in our faces to see what that can be like, to give us the opportunity to ultimately change it. Okay, so back to Jupiter now entering Cancer. Jupiter has been in Gemini for the past 18 months or so. It will be entering Cancer in, well, not quite 18 months, because it will be entering Cancer June 9th. And then it will be there for about over a year, just over a year. It'll be there from June 9th, 2025 till June 29th, 2026. So this is like a little shorter transit, but also probably a pretty life-changing one. Jupiter has been in Gemini for the last, 18 months or so. And, I keep comparing that to information overload, because Gemini is all about communication, it's social media, social life in general. And then Jupiter, the sign of abundance and expansion, coming into that sign just like creates a magnifying glass under that sign. So again, it's like we've just had like information overload, and it kind of just seems like that ever since like the internet and social media was born. But who knows, maybe with Jupiter transiting out of Gemini, we'll really start to quiet our minds a little bit and start to go inward and tune into our intuition. And then again, with Cancer, that is also such an intuitive sign. It's like the mothering sign. It's the womb space. It's a water sign. It is nurturing. It's the home. But it's like wisdom. I think of it as like the mother, like a grandmother, like wisdom energy. And so Jupiter going into that sign is going to be such a nice transition for us. I feel like it's just going to be lovely. Like I just really feel as though it's going to be kind of like the medicine to all the other shit going on. And again, especially with the Neptune and Aries kind of like misinformation, or I don't know, like delusion of inflamed egos and information and all of this madness. Jupiter is like the antidote. It's going to be like, okay, everybody just like, let's go to the spa, and how about we like, get a massage, we'll think about it, we'll tune into our intuition, we'll sleep on it, we'll come back when we feel ready that we have an answer, that kind of energy, which is like, wow, we need that. So I'm looking forward to that. And I think if you are watching or listening to this and you know your natal chart, if you're familiar with your natal chart, look at what house Cancer is on your natal chart, because that is going to be just bringing blessings in your own life. And what other planets might be in the sign of Cancer, it's going to also bring light to that energy, what that planet carries. Okay. And then lastly, we have Uranus entering Gemini. So interesting enough, and that will be happening July 7th. And this is the same idea. It's going to tiptoe in and then it's going to retrograde back out. Uranus is currently in Taurus, so it's going to go back into Taurus again, November 7th. So quick transit again. Uranus going to Gemini July 7th through November 7th. Quick preview for us, so we can get a preview of just what this energy we're going to be working with will be. And then we'll be back into Taurus before it moves there permanently again. So Uranus, similar-ish to Pluto, is all about disruption. It's kind of like the shocker to the system. It also is like a massive wake-up call. It wants to just kind of bring things to the light that are not working. And it's here for innovation and change. Aquarius, the sign we've been talking about a lot, Uranus is ruled by the sign Aquarius. So it's a lot of that similar energy. It wants what's best for the collective, but sometimes it can be very disruptive. It's like this massive wake up call that's like, this isn't working. Like, figure out your shit, which I feel like is maybe the theme of the entire year. So, yeah, and that energy going into Gemini, again, Gemini is all about communication and social media. So can we think about maybe how social media is and isn't working for us? Perhaps we, I don't know, come up with a new social media app that is not owned by Meta. Maybe we can all like migrate away from the like Instagram, Facebook, Meta umbrella so we can start making a smaller company money, or even like multiple other companies. This is really interesting. It's going to reinvent our way of communication. And this is so interesting. But I'm sure that you've heard of the telepathy tapes. It's like the number one podcast going around right now, or at least it was for like a week. It surpassed Joe Rogan for like the first time. And I don't know, I think Joe's been number one for 5 years at least. I don't know. Anyways, so this podcast is really interesting. It's all about researching how autistic children are actually telepathic. And again, if you're like me and you're kind of in the spiritual woo-woo world, you're seeing this come up more and more and more, that actually we're all innately telepathic. It's just, again, one of those things that we happen to just turn off early in childhood because it's not our typical way of communicating. So we all have telepathic capabilities. And yes, I do think that autistic children are kind of a special breed. I don't know if that's like offensive, but I'm not trying to be offensive at all. But they are a population, part of the population, and they definitely are gifted in ways in which your average human is not. And we're seeing all of these different kind of diagnoses coming out, like ADHD and ADD and da 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 da. And again, I do think that is both a result of social media, but also it's like kind of just the way that the world is going right now. So I don't know. I don't know if it's like a disadvantage. Maybe it's even just like a skill set to navigate. I don't know. But anyways, this is really interesting because Uranus entering Gemini, I feel like, is going to absolutely change how we communicate. And I foresee us becoming absolutely way more telepathic. Maybe not every single one of us, but I do think that a lot more of our psychic gifts are going to start turning on more and more and more. And that is so cool. And I'm not going to lie, I've actually had a handful of moments, like maybe even more than one hand, maybe almost like 10 in the last like month or so, where I can tell you that I don't know if it's actual, I don't know, just my intuition or literally telepathy at play in my own life. So I was on a chairlift the other last weekend. I was up at Winter Park snowboarding with my husband, and we met up with this kind of a distant friend of ours. I haven't met him that many times, but it's a friend of my husband's. And so I was kind of meeting him again for the first time, and we were just on the chairlift talking, and I was thinking about Tahoe. I was just kind of, I mean, I just love that area so much. And maybe one day I can live there. But anyways, I was like thinking about Tahoe, and I was just like thinking about snowboarding there, and I was thinking about how much I loved it and da da da. And so this guy, he starts making conversation with us because we're snowboarding together, and he's like, "Hey Lee, so Lee, you grew up in Lake Tahoe?" And I was like, "Holy shit." And I was like, "No, I didn't. I grew up in Vermont, but we love riding there and, spend a lot of time there." And it's like, I don't know if I was the one that was telepathic or he was the one that was telepathic, but we both were like, there was some sort of connection being made. And then there's been multiple other occasions where I would be thinking about something, and then my daughter would say or bring up something that I was thinking about. Like, when it was like something so simple, like I was like, oh, like I should make her some lunch and like make some like avocado toast or whatever, something like that. And then she would like come around the corner and be like, hey, I think I want this for lunch, and like say that crazy shit. So I don't know. I think that like we are entering a whole new era that we aren't even like prepared for. I mean, we totally are. Sorry. Forgive me for saying that. And one thing I did want to say before I end this is that no matter how hard this gets, we all need to remember that our little souls, actually our big, strong, brave souls, signed up to be here at this moment in time. So, yes, it is not easy being a human, especially right now. I don't know if it ever is, but we signed up to be here for a reason. And I truly believe that on the other side of this is going to be better days. And I know it sounds so like love and light and blah, blah, blah. And like, trust me, I'm not all love and light. I have plenty of dark, experiences and dark shit in my own life that I've gone through and still are working out. But I truly believe that we are heading into a better direction. And I know that's so hard to see right now for the average person. I mean, not average, but you know what I mean? Everyday person, for majority of the people out there, because we are in it right now. But this, again, it feels like this like grand finale to something. And I don't think it's like just going to be over this year. A lot of other kind of spiritual folks like say 2027 will kind of be the year that we're entering a better time. And to be honest, that might have something to do with astrology. That probably does. I haven't really looked into it too much. But don't lose faith. Again, all we have are each other and our intuition and our discernment to make the best choices for ourselves and the collective. And I truly believe that we are here for a reason. Again, we're not here to just be these drones working these 9-to-5 jobs and just being slaves to the financial system, which again, I do also feel like that's about to get completely reinvented as well. We're already kind of seeing that, but there's so much happening rapidly every single day that it's hard to even like make sense of any of it. And I'm right there with you, but just hold tight, hang on. We're going to get through it. I feel like I say that way too many times, but always look to the stars, and I think that the cosmic, powers kind of have their own plan too. So it's like, again, back to the resistance thing. There's only so much you can do to change things. Okay. That's my spiel. I hope that you got something from this. If you resonate, if you don't, let me know. This is like an open dialogue, again, I don't have all the answers. This is just my perspective, and hopefully it's helpful in some way. And I'd love to like hear your thoughts and where you're coming from. So, okay. Thanks so much. Bye.